Hey guys, so for today's lesson we're going to talk about measuring to 1/8 of an inch. Now if you remember back to Monday, we talked about using the customary unit or customary units to measure, and more specifically how to measure to 1/4 of an inch. I started off by showing this ruler, and we noticed that all of these numbers on the ruler are our whole inches. And to measure the distance between those, we would have to use fractions. On this ruler, on your standard ruler, in between each whole number, there are 16 spaces. So this ruler is broken up into 16ths. On Monday, we talked about how to break up the ruler into fourths or quarters. So here's the example of a ruler if I would magnify it. So this is 1 whole inch. And we can see the 16 different sections, so how this inch is broken up in 16ths. I showed you how we could break it up into quarters or fourths. Today, since we're going to measure to the nearest 1/8 of an inch, we're going to break this up into eighths. So how we're going to do that, I'm going to get my highlighter. We're going to start off, here we have 0 and 1. So again, we're going to box this in. Okay, and I have this space. I'm going to break it into eighths. I do that by first breaking up the inch into halves. So I have 2 halves. Then I can take each half and split those into half. Now I have fourths. If I take these fourths and split them in half, like so, you notice I will have 8 equal sections. So this inch is now broken up into eighths. Again, for this assignment, we're going to be simplifying things, and when you measure, I'm already going to let you use a ruler that's already broken up into eighths. So for example, I'm going to show you some examples of how to measure to 1/8. If we look at the first one down here, up here at the top, we're going to measure this dark line. So if we look at our whole inches, 0, 1, 2, 3, if you notice in between the whole inches, each inch is broken up into eighths already. So how we're going to measure that is we're going to look where our object, or in this case, our bar, stops. So it stops about right here. I want to measure that. So I know that it's going to land between the 1 and 2 inch marks. So it's past 1 inch, but not quite 2. So I know it's going to be 1 and something. So I have to count, well, how many eighths did the end of this line take up? Again, I'm going to show you how this would look. The lines are already there, but if you can imagine that these are 8 equal sections. And the line stops here, so I would shade in 1/8 and 2/8. I wouldn't shade any more because our line doesn't go past this mark. So how many eighths did I shade? Well, I shaded 1, 2. So this line would be measured 1 and 2/8 of an inch. Okay, I'm going to show you another example. If we look at the one right below it, we're going to be measuring this dark line. Again, we find where our line ends, and it lands between the 3 and the 4 inch mark. So I'm going to circle those whole inches. Well, I know it's past 3, but it's not quite 4. So it's going to be 3 and something. Well, I'm going to count how many eighths this line ends at. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it landed at 6/8. Now remember, when I count, I'm not counting the tick marks. I'm counting the spaces in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this would be 3 and 6/8 of an inch. Okay, one more. I come down to, I'm going to measure this dark line up here. I'm going to find out where my whole inches are, where it lands between. So I know it's between 2 and 3. It's past 2, but not to 3 inches. So it's 2 and something. Well, it's already an eighth, so I'm going to count how many eighth pieces or sections this line takes up. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 and 4/8, or we can just say that's 2.5 inches. So pretty straightforward. So for today's lesson, you're going to be doing this assignment. You'll see a PDF that looks like this, and you're going to measure each object to the nearest eighth of an inch. Again, if you remember, each whole inch is already broken up into eighths. You just have to count how many eighths it is. Good luck.